All right. So, good evening, everybody. And here we are back again on a Friday evening with yet another live conversation. Now, before I start off, I want to wish everybody who's going to be joining us from India this evening a very, very happy and blessed Diwali. May the festival of lights light up your life with abundance, joy, and everything that you wish for. Now, today, I have with me a very, very special guest. I call her special. All my guests are special. Now, there's a reason I call this woman special because she's one of the most extraordinary women I've ever met in my life. And during the course of this conversation, you'll understand why I call her extraordinary. Please welcome Sophia Petrides, who is a talent retention coach and the author of Bedside Coaching. Sophia, welcome.
Oh, wonderful. It's so lovely to be here. And as you say, I'm special, but I'm talking to a special woman as well. So, I'm looking forward to so much to this conversation. And I know we discussed about keeping it very short, but we have so much to say. So I hope we can keep it as short as we can
Well,
without
we'll
taking
see.
too much time.
We'll see where it goes. I normally keep my conversations. I go with the flow. I
Wonderful.
don't. I don't. I'm not. I'm not very strict about the time because it just depends on how the conversation's going and
Yeah,
what is the. How engaging it is. It's practically
absolutely.
about that. But before we start off, Sophia, I'm going to invite you to share a little bit more about yourself with
Wonderful.
the audience.
So, as you mentioned, you introduced me as a talent retention coach. Well, and I'm going to talk a lot more about my purpose later on, but my real purpose in life right now is to support emerging professionals. And in
Mm-hmm.
particular, and I support them grow and develop themselves in such a fast paced environment. And at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, what I do, I help the leaders
Mm-hmm.
support young professionals. We call them
Mm-hmm.
emerging professionals these days because I
Okay.
want to empower them using that word emerging rather than young.
Yep.
And that's what I've been doing for the last 3 years. And it's been
Mm-hmm.
so rewarding to see so much talent out there. And especially now, it's just so much need to really support all these different generations
Yeah.
help themselves and become more inclusive. And I'm so happy to be part of this journey for everyone. And it's an ongoing journey.
Awesome. So today, Sophia and I are going to be talking about a life skill that we both believe is very important for people, but more so for women. And the reason we believe this is very, very important for women is because we don't need to state it out loud. The fact is, women wear fear as a second skin. And this is because we are A, conditioned to, we are taught to, we come up against ourselves, and we live in societies and communities and social units where fear is constantly invoked within us. So, at a lot of times, even at a very unconscious level, our first response to change or anything that is different is fear based. Now, we live in a world where women are being urged and asked to step up to meet a new world in all their roles, regardless of whether you're running a business or you're working at an organization or you're a homemaker or you're serving a community or a nonprofit. The fact of it is we are living in a world which is changing and we are not really sure how it is changing, which means we all have to step up as human beings. We all have to step up as women. We have to step up as individuals. And that needs a lot of courage. Now, courage is something that we are not taught about. We are not
Mm.
taught how to be courageous. We are made to question ourselves every time we are asked we are asked to do something that requires courage. Now, the result and the consequence of this is simple. Every time we are challenged, every time we are facing fear, we don't know how to be courageous. We don't know how to make an intentional choice of being courageous. And this is what Sophia and I are going to be unpacking today. And there is a reason that we are unpacking this together because there's a lot of thought leadership and there's a lot of conversation about women being brave and courageous and mindful, etc., etc., etc. There isn't enough conversation about women who are going out there and being brave and talking about their experience of being brave. And Sophia is one of the bravest women I know. Sophia is one of the women I know who chooses courage with intention. And this is why I'm so happy to have her with me to talk about her journey, to talk about how courage has transformed her life and opened up opportunities for her, and to tell us how she does it. How does she intentionally choose courage every time she's challenged by fear? So, having set the context, let's dive right in. Sophia, I have, the first question I want to ask you, this is something that is constantly on my mind. And it goes back to what I started this conversation with, saying we are taught to be afraid. We live in social units where fear is constantly evoked within us. Why do you think fear is a lesson that is, ingrained into women across countries, across cultures, across ages, right from a very young age?
Yeah.
What's your take on this?
Well, from my experience, and of coming from a very traditional family, and I grew
Mhm,
up in a very small country, um, I asked myself a lot this week, what is that fear? And it comes back to one word:
mhm.
control.
Yeah.
Control.
Mm,
But before we come to control, one
mhm.
word we need to know: fear breeds fear.
Yeah.
So we start with control. Why is it
Mhm.
that we women are being controlled by young age? And
Yeah.
again, that comes back from fear, maybe from males or females in the family that trying
Mhm,
to control us not to
mhm,
change because
mhm.
they're afraid of us leaving that nest, leaving them behind, or even bringing shame to the family. Because some
Yeah.
cultures, shame is a huge word. In
Yeah.
Cyprus, it's the same thing. So
Yeah.
we women have been conditioned to feel shame from very young age, to feel
Yeah.
guilty, to
Yeah.
feel fear from very young age. So
Yeah.
definitely is control,
Yeah.
because again, the males have of or females again. I'm not gonna, because again, it comes from our grandparents, grandmother, grandfather, great grandfather, etc.
Yeah.
And they have that fear of letting us go,
Yeah.
and for us to educate ourselves and
Yeah.
leaving the nest and live the world, because
Yeah.
we've, as you know, as you agree, we've been conditioned as women
Yeah.
to grow up, to look
Yeah.
after the male, to get married,
Mhm,
have
mhm,
children. You
mhm.
finish school. If you finish school, you're
Yeah.
18, you're gonna get married, you have children, and
Yeah.
then you stay home, you cook, you clean, you cook, and you work as well, because you need
Yeah.
to earn money as well.
Yeah.
So that is the preconception that, I mean, I remember myself.
Mhm,
I left Cyprus when I was 18. And
mhm.
every year I used to come back. Everyone keeps telling me, so when are you gonna get married? When are you gonna get married? When are you gonna start a family? And it
Mhm.
went on for every year. And everyone I used to come, I was prepared for that question. So,
Yeah.
in the beginning, I took it really, my God, how many times I'm going to answer this question? Why am
Yeah.
I not getting married? I mean, everyone judged me. Everyone said to me, Papi, you're a career woman. You are
Yeah.
ruining your life.
Yeah.
And I think those are the kind of things that really, that's where it stems from, because they have the fear of letting us go, and, and,
Yeah.
and not controlling our lives.
It's very interesting that you raised this point about shame
Yeah.
because, a few months back, I was running a workshop on radical self acceptance as a part of personal branding. And one of the things that came up was when I did my research and I was preparing my content for this workshop was the fact that one half of the world have cultures that are built on shame, and the
Mhm.
other half of the world have cultures that are built on guilt. And
Yeah.
fear is the common thread that runs across cultures of shame and cultures of guilt. So it really makes so much sense when you say that, we are taught to be afraid. Our default mode is fear
Yeah.
because women have to be controlled for biology, to play the roles of nurturers, to keep social units going, to keep the family line going, so on and so forth. But you've already given us a little indication that your journey has been quite different.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your journey, and more importantly, tell us how choosing to be courageous helped you define those new paths and new opportunities, be it in life, be it professionally, which has made a big difference to your life and you as a person.
Lovely. Well, I'm going to start from a year 18, when I was 18 years old. And that
Mm-hmm.
is where I left Cyprus.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, let me start a little bit that I set myself a goal.
Mm-hmm.
I had really a big goal to go out there and taste the world, because Cyprus is such a small country. So I
Yeah.
always felt that there's so much more out there,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't know how to go and get it. So at 18,
Yeah.
my parents, I
Mm-hmm.
remember they said they're going to send me off to the UK. I was born in
Mm-hmm.
the UK. It's good to come back and educate myself and study. And they were
Mm-hmm.
waiting for me to come back when I was 19. But I
Mm-hmm.
never came back until 33 years later. So I started in 87. I went to
Mm-hmm.
England, UK, and that's where, oh my God, I was the first month I will not leave the house. I was so afraid because my grandmother, my mother, everyone was telling me, oh my God, don't go out. You're going to get abducted or you're going to get this. And you start building this fear. And the first
Yeah.
month, literally, I had that fear of like, I'm going to come back to my house by 3 o'clock before it gets
Mm-hmm.
dark. And then
Mm-hmm.
one day I said to myself, Sophia, don't be so silly. Come on. You set yourself a goal to
Yeah.
really live your life. Go out there. I was about to start college.
Yeah.
How will I go to college if I'm so afraid to go leave my house?
Yeah.
So again, I had a choice to make, either to stay in the house and not do anything and be
Mm-hmm.
passive, or to become more, take an action and leave the
Mm-hmm.
house and go.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never
Mm-hmm.
looked back. That was my first step, to go leave the door and then and keep living my life. And it was an amazing journey.
Yeah.
I've met incredible people. I've met incredible mentors in my life. And that was 1987. 88, when I was 19 years old, I actually found my first job. And again, I found it on my own. I went to
Mm-hmm.
a meeting, I was interviewed, I was hired the next day. I mean, I was a little girl in this sort of big world, and I was in
Yeah.
awe of what's going on
Yeah.
around me. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking, oh my God.
Yeah.
And but again, I was lucky because I had mentors behind me, because we need a support system. I think
Yeah.
it's important for us to have a support system. And
Yeah.
as women, it's very important that we ask for help, because we're not
Yeah.
know, not knowing asking for help. And
Yeah.
that's really helped me in the beginning to have that mentor. And she helped me develop my confidence,
Mm-hmm.
because by that time I didn't know anything about the work, the life. I've learned everything there. And
Right.
by the age of 21, I remember she was going to go to the US to study for 3 months. So she
Mm-hmm.
took me to a room. She said to me, I'm going to make you head of events. So you're going to
Mm-hmm.
have a team that you're going to lead, and six
Mm-hmm.
of them. So it was
Mm-hmm.
like, I didn't even have time to really start panicking. I had to start the
Yeah.
job the next day. So I'm
Yeah.
thinking, oh my God, how am I going to do this? Anyway, but being the amazing mentor that she was, she reminded me of the great job that I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And again, part of fear is about remembering your accomplishments,
Yeah.
praising yourself. You've been there, you've done that, you've learned a lot in life. Use
Yeah.
that experience to move forward in life. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what really helped me to think about, yes, I mean, she taught me a lot. So, and
Yeah.
also I had a team to support me. So I had a very good team there. So that
Yeah.
was it. I started working, but I worked very hard. I
Mm-hmm.
remember leaving the house at 8, coming back at home at midnight. And I was doing
Mm-hmm.
that for the next 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
Then in 1999, I bought my own home.
Mm-hmm.
And again, through our preconceptions, we've learned to have fear, oh my God, not to spend money. We had a fear of money in the family, especially. I mean,
Yeah.
money was a dirty word. Oh my God, if
Yeah.
you don't save, you're not going to, you need to always have a pot on the side. So
Yeah.
when I bought the house, thankfully, I met this lovely financial advisor. He pushed me forward to say, go, believe me, go and spend a little bit more money, then readjust your life, and you will be praising me in the next 20, 30, 40 years, which I
Right.
did, which I
Yeah.
did. But in the
Yeah.
beginning, I couldn't see it. But I said
Mm-hmm.
to myself, no, I will work very hard, and I will, I asked myself the question, what is the worst that can happen? If I can't afford it, I will sell
Mm-hmm.
it. That's the
Yeah.
worst that can happen. So when
Yeah.
and I've learned to have plan A, plan B. That's the
Yeah.
question I keep asking myself. So again,
Yeah.
I did that. And then after that, I've left the hotel business, went to investment banking,
Mm-hmm.
and I started learning about the business. Again, I don't have qualifications, but
Mm-hmm.
I went there through determination. Again, I never forgot my goal, that I needed
Mm-hmm.
to learn and develop and grow myself. So
Mm-hmm.
knowing my goal kept me going
Mm-hmm.
step by step. And
Mm-hmm.
again, I've learned there that if I don't know anything, I'll ask for
Mm-hmm.
support. And
Yeah.
it's all about taking that first step. Once
Yeah.
you take the first step, then you go to the next step. And that's
Yeah.
how you really start growing your courage. And,
Yeah.
okay, I mean, the biggest word you need to know, okay, if I fail, okay, what will
Mm.
happen? I will learn
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
That's the worst that can happen. It's not a life and death situation. So
Yeah.
you learn to move forward step by step. So these are the lessons that I was learning along my journey. And
Mm-hmm.
then I moved into leading teams. So I went to investment banking. I started working with my teams and building the teams. And this is how I grew as a leader, because I've
Mm-hmm.
learned a lot through leading my team and helping them. They were teaching me and I was teaching them. It's a two-way street. And then in 2014, one of my biggest goals that I've learned in life, it was literally my goal was to work for Goldman Sachs. As we know, it's one of the biggest investment banking in the world. It's very
Yeah.
tough environment. And
Yeah.
in 2014, I was hired to work and on behalf of an agency to go in there and lead a team and grow the business.
Yeah.
And of course, the first thing I had is like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? I mean, Goldman's big name. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then again, you stop yourself, you check, look
Yeah.
at what I've achieved.
Yeah.
I can do this job. And then I
Yeah.
walked in with that sort of strength that I can do this job
Yeah.
and taking it step by step. And that's what I've done. And you work hard. If you have determination, I'm known for my tenacity. I don't give up. I'm a bit
Yeah.
stubborn when it comes to that.
Yeah.
And you move forward.
Yeah.
And then my next bigger thing was when I left my job at 2018 and I
Mm.
turned 49. That is where the biggest change of my life happened, is
Yeah.
to leave that sort of security of a job
Yeah.
and rebuild my career at 50. For me, I would say that was the biggest change of my life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I haven't looked back, even though, I'm still developing, I'm still growing. I
Yeah.
felt like it was the best thing I ever done, even though I didn't know what life will bring me. I still don't know what life will bring me. And most
Yeah.
probably I will never know what life will bring me, because obviously we
Yeah.
know things happen to us. But
Yeah.
I think that was the best decision I ever made in my life.
Sophia, you've talked a lot about your professional journey, but I know you as a person, you're a soul sister for me. And one of the things I really love, and, one of the things about you that inspires me is just how you go out and live life. It's not just about you being a young girl who left Cyprus, got a degree, and then went out, got all the jobs that she wanted, and built a career. It's not just about you starting a second career at
Yeah.
50. uh, you know you also, I mean, when I made an announcement about our conversation, the incident, the
Oh,
part of the thing that I mentioned was the fact that when you told me that you were floating above a very venomous snake, and I know, while you're snorkeling. Now, I know, having read your book, which you very kindly sent
yeah.
me, that you, like me, you're an asthmatic.
Yes.
Right? And for me, that was a big aha moment, saying, wow,
Yeah.
she's asthmatic, which means her lung capacity is diminished, but she
Yes.
still went out diving. She still travels alone. She goes after her passion. She loves to travel. She loves to snorkel. She loves adventures, and she goes after it. So you come across to me as somebody who acts with courage in going after all that you want for yourself in life. Can you share? I mean, there's so much in your life, but for you, what are the three defining instances in your life when choosing to be courageous transformed your life?
I'm going to start about maybe 12 years ago when I start delving into myself.
Mm-hmm.
I took a deep dive at that time. I remembering things. I looked at my past and thinking
Mm-hmm.
where I am in my life. That was around 40 years old,
Right.
and, I started taking a deep dive into my own self,
Mm-hmm.
because with anything that we do in our life, whether it's taking the courage or anything that we see in our situation, is about knowing who you are. First of all, you have to know your true self. You
Yeah.
have to be comfortable with yourself first. And
Mm-hmm.
then and it's a really hard thing to do, to really
Yeah.
get to know yourself. It's a scary thing, because you're going to see things that you don't necessarily like, or you think you don't like, or
Mm-hmm.
think that society won't like about you.
Yeah.
Because that's how we see life. We see life through the eyes of our other people and what they expect from us. And this is wrong. We
You
need
know,
to
I
change the
think
story.
I think it would be easier for us to like ourselves if we were not constantly looking at
Yeah,
ourselves through the eyes and lens of other people. And
exactly.
and we spend most of our youth trying to, so we most of our youth, we're so busy looking at ourselves through the eyes of our caregivers, our
Yeah.
peers, our bosses, and everybody else, that we really don't even know who we are And it's only when you come to, you have a certain number of years under your belt and the experiences life brings your way, then you realize that, hey, the only person who's there for me is me. And
Yeah,
I have to be my best friend. I have to
yeah,
know myself to, move forward.
yeah,
But yeah, please
absolutely.
go.
So
Yeah,
absolutely, yes. I mean, without, and of course, we are the last people that we will look after ourselves, because that's the one question I ask everyone: who is the most important person in your life? And
yeah,
99.9% everyone will say, oh, it's my partner, my mother, my sister, my dog, the
yeah,
cat and dog, whatever, but never ourselves, never. and
right.
and actually, a story is like, for instance, I challenge them. I say to them, when you go traveling on a plane, what is the first thing that the air stewardess will tell you about security? You have to put the oxygen mask first on yourself.
Yeah,
Why? Because if you're not in a good health, if you're not in a good space, how can you help people around you?
yeah,
And again, this links in with your life purpose, because
right.
coming back to how I've actually evolved myself over the years to build this courage, because at the same time as building my self-awareness, it's about asking myself, what is my life purpose? Because
Yeah.
I'm still single, I don't have children, and I keep asking myself, what is it that actually made me who I am today?
Mm-hmm.
And something, when I look back, it took me a bit of time to check my career, the people in my life, my friends, my family. And I always felt that I've actually, I supported a lot of people throughout their journey. And especially when I was leading teams, I
Mm-hmm.
felt that they were my children. I was responsible for them, responsible
Mm-hmm.
for their careers, for their well-being. I
Yeah.
had a team of 25 people. I knew everything about everyone, because that's
Mm-hmm.
a leader. That's how you need to know what's going on around you. So I
Yeah.
said to myself, this is my life purpose, is to
Yeah.
really use the experiences and support others. And then the other piece that really supported me to build my courage is living my values.
Mm.
When you're not, first of all, you need to know your values.
Mm.
What are your true, authentic values?
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of values we've inherited from our ancestors. And if we don't change those values, which are not good for us to move forward, which are not fit for purpose, as we call it, then we're
Yeah.
never going to be in tune with our life. And we're
Yeah.
always going to be battling between guilt,
Yeah.
between fear, and
Yeah.
and and
Shame.
and shame.
Shame.
Exactly. Yeah. So therefore, one thing that I really, when I turned 50, the one thing I have to say was very powerful for me, because I knew my values. So this is where I made that big change in 2018, because
Mm-hmm.
my values have changed. And
Mm-hmm.
one of my values was about finding my inner peace, my inner freedom, not
Mm.
allowing external influences affect who I am or who I
Mm.
want to become in the future, or evolving. And that is what I felt when I left my job, my permanent 9 to 5 job, is
Mm.
I felt that inner peace.
Right.
And it's an amazing feeling.
So I'm going to probe you a little bit and get a little personal over
Yeah,
here.
yeah, absolutely.
Give us the three most, the defining moments in your life when you chose courage with intention and it changed your life, the situation and the outcome of choosing courage with intention.
Well, I mean, again, it's true. I will say, do you want to be my personal or through my career life or my personal life?
It's up
Anything.
to you. It's up to you. It's up to you.
I would say, something, diving, scuba diving. I'll start from scuba diving,
Yeah.
because we both know that we're asthmatic.
Yeah.
Now, everyone keeps saying to me, like, I knew that I couldn't really dive, but I took that first step with an
Mhm.
amazing woman who went step by step. And I love swimming. I've been a swimmer all
Yeah.
my life.
Yeah.
But what she did for me was literally, she was amazing to give me that peace when I took my regulator in my mouth. Is the most scary thing, by the way, to do for the first time, because you
Hmm.
think you're like Darth Vader, you can't breathe. And when
Right.
she taught me how to breathe, and I went underneath and she took me around for like a half an hour, I was like, wow, I said, I'm looking at this is a new world that I want to really find out more about.
Yeah.
And that actually helped me a lot, because throughout my diving experience, I did
Hmm.
go through situations where I had panic attacks at
Yeah.
30 meters, and we know that is a life and death situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, diving is not a joke. You have to really
No.
know what you're doing,
No.
but also that is
Yeah.
where it tests your true courage and your true
Yeah.
knowing where to focus and be present. Because without being
Yeah.
present when diving, that's it. It
Yeah.
is not easy. And it happened to me a couple of times. But of course,
Mm-hmm.
with diving, you're on your own, you have your dive buddy, but they don't know how to help you properly. So I
Right.
had to take control of myself, and I
Right.
had to really decide to ascend a little bit, let the oxygen flow better in my lungs. So I knew
Mm-hmm.
what to do in a way. And I actually played around with my physique and with
Yeah.
my emotion. I closed my eyes and I meditated. I
Right.
literally breathed deeply, and because that was the choice I had to make
Yeah.
to really calm my breathing.
Yeah.
I calmed down. I
Yeah.
started drawing, and then I started breathing again, and I opened my eyes, and I was fine. And I
Right.
continued diving. So I had my dive buddy with me, of course, and then we kept diving. It happened to me a couple of times. I don't know why. Maybe I was too tired, because with diving, you don't know how you will feel until you're underneath the water, and then you
Yeah.
start feeling the pressure.
Yeah.
So that taught me a lot, being in that situation. And
Yeah.
I've taken that out of water. So whenever I feel a bit of panic, I
Yeah.
have to step away from the situation immediately.
Yeah.
Don't stay there. Change your
Yeah.
environment. Change where
Mm-hmm.
you are. Go
Mm-hmm.
outside and close your eyes and take deep breaths and breathe.
Right.
Be conscious
Right.
of your breathing. Some
Right.
people visualize. I love to visualize. Some
Right.
people don't know how to visualize, or they don't know, just be with yourself. Maybe put a piece of music that you enjoy. Maybe
Absolutely.
just close your eyes and imagine your favorite holiday.
Right.
Something that can take your mind away from that moment of panic and fear. And the
Right.
more you do it, the more you create a memory muscle in your brain, and your
Right.
brain associates fear. Then it tells you immediately, stop, leave your environment. And that's
Right.
one of the lessons, actually. I know I'm mixing the tips.
No, I love the fact that you mentioned diving because you know what you mentioned about diving and it being life and death and having an anxiety or a panic
Yeah,
attack underwater. That's typically how we feel when
yeah,
we are caught in the grip of fear. You
yeah,
know, that's exactly it. You forget to breathe, you have all these physical symptoms, and that's like a brilliant example that you've given here. But now that we're talking, you know, we've deep dived into fear now, and we're actually talking about the tips and all. Before we jump in and explore those tips further, I want to ask you one
yeah.
question. I know you have often said this that you believe women have to be very intentionally brave in this world today. In fact, to the point where I think that we have joked about the fact that brave is the new black for all of us, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
why,
yeah.
why do you believe brave is the new black for us women, no matter where we are in the world? It is not an Asia or a Europe or a US thing, but it's across the world, women everywhere. And why is brave the new black, particularly in the present times?
I think COVID has actually helped women become more courageous, I would say.
Mm-hmm,
A
mm-hmm,
lot, and especially women with careers, in careers situation.
mm-hmm,
And the reason why it helped them, because again, we've come to the point in COVID that they were working, homeschooling, looking after the partners, cooking, cleaning,
yeah,
and that's pushed them to the point of reassessing their lives
yeah,
and choosing and becoming more intentional in choosing what is important in their life. And I think
yeah,
COVID has definitely helped that, and actually helped that tremendously for them to make a decision. Now, I read a lot of research and articles in the US in
mm-hmm,
2020 when
mm-hmm,
lockdown happened. About
mm-hmm,
200,000 women left their careers. They chose
yeah,
family. They chose
yeah,
being at home. But that's pushed them also to think about their careers and what they want to do to
yeah,
have a better life. So
yeah,
therefore, 2020 created more female entrepreneurs, especially
yeah,
in their 50s, than men. And,
yeah,
and, and that's incredible. It's an incredible, achievement for women
I think
globally
so.
to have actually achieved that. And
Yeah,
in the past 20 years, there's more women now becoming more entrepreneurs than
mm-hmm,
men. And the
mm-hmm,
numbers are growing. So I will say situations like COVID, unfortunately, we have to come to that point when
yeah,
there's no return to be able to make the change. So
yeah,
that's pushed definitely women to that point.
yeah,
Obviously, now we know that everyone's been talking about inclusion, diversity, etc.
mm-hmm,
Organizations are becoming more inclusive.
mm-hmm,
Education perhaps needs. I mean, the one area that needs to change a lot is education.
mm-hmm.
I mean,
Okay,
education for me is about making girls believe that they can become engineers, making them believe that they have the capability to become engineers. Why is
Yeah.
it just engineer designers?
Yeah.
It's those kind of things has to start from education.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the
Right.
education system has to work. Now, it's a lot more work to be done, but for me, seeing COVID and how mothers, especially, because I've interviewed a lot of them, how they've come to the conclusion how to choose. Again, they were living their values. They had to reassess their values, and that's
Yeah.
why they're in a better place now than they were when lockdown happened.
Right, right. And of course, the courage comes in not just examining your life, what is there in your life, what your values are, what you
Yeah.
want for yourself, but also in going out and effecting it. Because I do know a lot of women who have come around and told me that, the past 2 years have been transformational for me.
Yes,
It's really
absolutely.
been transformational for me
Amazing.
because it's not just about knowing where I belong and where I don't belong, what I want and what I don't want. It is also the changing dynamics from within the families where I'm suddenly looking at myself and saying, oh my God, look at the burden on my shoulder. How do
Absolutely.
I bring it down so that I have a little more space for myself?
Yeah.
And I think that's been very, very brilliant out there. But then it again comes back to the struggle that we have because we have a narrative that's practically ingrained in us, which is of fear. How can we intentionally choose to be courageous, overriding those narratives of fear that not only run within us, but also is around us?
Yeah, I mean, again, I will have to start to become more intentional. We need to change our conscious approach to everything in life. And again, comes back to the depth of self-awareness. It's
Mm-hmm.
developing self-efficacy.
Mm.
It's an ongoing lesson because we don't if we
Yeah,
don't keep creating that memory muscle in our brain, is
yeah,
almost we need to keep building on it. And when
yeah,
situations come to us, when the going gets tough, as we say, that is
yeah,
where we need our memory muscle to help us, to kick
yes,
us, and remind us. But you
yes,
have to be self-aware of your strengths, of your
yes.
emotional state, how to manage your emotional state, how you
Mm.
manage your behavior in situations of fear,
Mm.
how to manage the environment around you. So
Mm.
it's all about, you know what? It's all about not. It's all about become a leader of your life. I keep saying this. You have to become a leader of your life and not a follower. And that
Right.
is a big change in our lives. When we are younger, we are followers.
Yeah,
When we have this we have the preconceptions, we are following other people's values, other people's perceptions. But once you take the lead of your life, that
yeah,
is where you transform your life. And
right.
actually, we need to become more selfish.
Yeah,
Selfish is a big word. Selfish, we're known to be, oh my God, you can't be selfish. Again, guilt comes in,
yeah,
judgment comes in. Oh my God, if you're
yeah,
selfish and you don't care about your children, your husband, etc. Well, not really. If I'm not well, if I'm not in the right emotional state as a woman, how can I really support my children? How can I be support to my partner? So,
yeah,
you have to change the story. It's
yeah.
all about changing our story we are telling ourselves.
Right. Something that I use when I'm challenged, the way I know that I've gone into my default mode of fear is my discomfort. When
Oh,
I'm faced with something, when I have to do something, and there's a part of me which wants to do it, and it's screaming at me saying, do it, do it, do it. But there's also this part of me which is saying, don't do it. That's the point when I have to pause and say, who's actually telling me not to do it?
yes,
why am i
exactly.
why am I not doing it?
Yeah,
What do I lose if I do? You have to actually literally do the
yeah,
pros and cons and say, what happens if I do this and what happens if I don't do it?
yeah.
Am I willing to really pay, deal with the consequences, whatever it may be? And the answer almost always is yes, I am, because my
Yeah.
peace of mind and my joy matters to me, right?
Fabulous.
So
Amazing. Yes, it comes back to values again. And I
yeah,
and I will add to that actually, Reka, is it comes back to again, I procrastinate. It's called procrastination. But
yeah, I do that too.
procrastinate a lot because I'm learning a lot. And
Yeah.
also like with the book, for instance, it took me a year to finish it because
Mhm.
I had this one of my biggest fears always is a fear of failure.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
lot of professional people, we all suffer from that because we live in
Yeah.
a very
Yeah.
competitive world. So
Right.
everything I do, I always have that fear of failure, thinking, oh my God, if I write this book, everyone's going to judge me.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to, and then I kick myself. I said, Sophia, listen, I said to myself, in the world that we're living, there are people
Yeah.
that like us and people that don't like us, or people don't like
Right.
what we.
Right.
So what do I do? If people don't want to listen to me, it's okay. There's nothing wrong
Yeah.
with that. But if
Yeah.
one or two people, if I change somebody's life, even one or two people, I've made a change. It's part of my life purpose. So I feel that I've accomplished something. Even if I change one soul, two souls, three souls, it's
And
okay.
you know what? At the end of the day, even if you change nobody and
Yeah.
you're happy, that's all that
Yeah.
matters.
Well, exactly.
Because
I mean, yeah.
like when I started these lives, I think today is our 12th live. Today's the 12th week running that I'm here on a live. And I remember when I said I'm going to do lives, there were the number of people who came and said, you're not going to be able to do this Friday after Friday. It's not possible. And
Yeah.
I didn't even know if it was possible. But here we are, 12 weeks.
Yeah.
That's like what, almost 3 months. And I have a
Amazing.
calendar which goes all the way to December. But the fact of it is, there have been lives when there's been nobody, and
Yeah.
I've still had a blast. I loved the live because I had a great
Amazing.
conversation and I felt fantastic about it. So there are times when it doesn't matter if nobody sees you, nobody cares. If you are happy and it makes
Exactly.
you happier in your
Absolutely. Yes.
environment,
Yeah.
go for it,
It's
right?
part of your journey, absolutely. If you're living your journey and you're enjoying your journey and having fun,
Yeah,
because that's a
yeah,
big word to have fun. You need, like, have you read the book The Ikigai, which is
yes,
the
I
wisdom
have.
of something you
I
have
have.
goals, but they're teaching us it's not about the goal, it's about your
Yeah,
journey. You need to enjoy your
absolutely.
journey. That is what life is all about. And it's true, very,
Absolutely.
very true. So when you look at yourself from that perspective, then the book, even if one person, I mean, I'm getting so many, even from different leaders, they're reading my exercises and they find them very challenging. And
Yeah,
for me to listen to that and hear it, it means, I've written this. I'm not I wasn't reinventing the wheel with the book, but what I've done with the book is actually I challenge people's thought process with the
right.
book. The exercises
Absolutely.
makes everyone think, because we
Yeah,
forget to think, we forget to
yeah,
challenge ourselves. So
yeah.
I do this. I read my book as well every now and then, and I keep reminding myself of the questions that I should be asking myself, and
Absolutely.
it grounds me and it reminds me to take a step back and reassess everything. So
Yeah,
that's part of life, and it's taught me one of the areas to become more intentional is about finding your legacy, finding your life purpose. I think
mm,
it's important to really think about what is our life purpose. And it
yeah.
does take time to figure it out, but also
Yes.
sometimes our life purpose changes with our circumstances. But once you have something that you really want to help to sustain an ecosystem and you want to be
Yeah.
part of that ecosystem, it makes your life worth living. And that's why I wake up in the morning thinking, I'm going to learn something today and I'm going to keep living. And that's what keeps pushing me every day, is the fact that I want to learn something every day.
Something that I've discovered about purpose, because purpose, I use purpose as a fundamental of any personal branding
Yeah.
strategy that I do. And the one thing I've learned about purpose is where a lot of people get it wrong is they think purpose is about helping other people. But unfortunately, your purpose has to start with you. It has to
Of
start with
course,
helping
absolutely,
you.
yes.
It has to
For
serve
sure.
you. And if it does not serve you,
Yeah,
it will not serve anybody else. It will
yeah,
become another job to do.
yeah.
So, what I have learned is usually our purpose is I want to be happy. I want
Yeah.
to be loved. I
That's a
want to
good
feel
point.
abundant. I want, it's I want. And because
Yes,
when I achieve this and I'm living this on a day-to-day basis, I feel so fulfilled that
yeah.
I'm radiating it into my
Correct. That's a
ecosystem,
very good point, actually. We're
right?
absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. And
Now the second
this is where self-awareness comes in, because you're aware
right.
of it.
Now the
Yes.
second thing I have noticed about purpose is what gives me joy today may shape shift into something bigger tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that is where courage really is
Yeah.
essential because it's so important for us to stay open to the possibilities, the forms and the shapes that our purpose will take in a changing world.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that when you talk about self-awareness, that's how this whole purpose works out in terms for us and for other people.
No, no, I think it's very, I think it's fun. The way you said it is beautifully said. Absolutely yes.
Yep.
Definitely.
So before we wind up, this is a question I ask everybody who comes on the show, basically because everyone has a lot of living wisdom. But what are your top 3 tips for women to intentionally build their courage muscle with
Yeah,
grace in their
yeah.
everyday life?
I would say to them, one of the things, of course, we talked about being true to the authentic values.
Mm-hmm.
Keep living their values every day. That's
Mm-hmm.
one of it. To be more intentional, you need to keep reminding yourself why you're doing something. Is
Mm-hmm.
your why. And
Mm.
also, you said that you talked about why the other day on LinkedIn.
I
You
did.
covered it quite a lot, which is amazing.
I
The
did.
other thing is to be intentional is about, and is that I would say to you, I'm going to leave a homework for everyone to do, to keep changing the story they are telling. If you
Yeah.
have a negative situation, turn it backwards, turn it around to a positive. Because I mean,
Yeah.
see fear as a positive tool.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever we're in a situation, think about it. Okay, so how can I resolve this issue? Because there is a
Yeah.
solution to everything. You just
Yeah.
have to be present in the moment.
Yeah.
Stop, you change your environment, be present, and then think about that solution. Because we are
Yeah.
all naturally creative in our lives, but
Yeah.
sometimes we let all this chaos around us blind us, and then
Yes.
we can't see clearly. But also with
Absolutely.
fear, as we know, when we are blind, we let opportunities, we miss opportunities in our lives.
Yeah.
But by being present, removing the fear and seeing as a positive tool, we start being present and we see things.
Yeah.
And then also start taking small risks. Do it
Right.
small, one
Right.
step at a time. Be like a child. Learn to
Yeah.
be that child who gets up and starts taking one step at a time. Okay, the
Yeah.
child, what happens to the child? He keeps falling down, cries. But what do they do
Mhm.
next? They pick themselves up and they
Yes.
keep going. We have so much to learn for children. It's really funny. Children and the animal kingdom, we have so much to learn from them. So be that child. Take that small risk. Because at the end of the
Absolutely.
day, that's going to lead you to a bigger world, to a bigger life. That's what children want, is to become adventurous and
Absolutely.
mischievous and become mischievous in life.
Absolutely.
Right?
So, so do you have any daily exercises that people can do to build this muscle,
Yes.
courage
Yeah.
muscle, as we call it now?
I will say to you, first of all, I'm going to start with this post-it. Can you see? Yeah, if you fail, you're not a failure. That is very important to have on your desk, because that is the fear of failure that we have, is seeing
Mm,
ourselves being failures. We are not failures. We
right.
see failure as a learning step. I mean, look at all the most incredible entrepreneurs in their life. They
Mhm.
failed 20 times to achieve what the success that they have today. I have it
Yeah.
on my computer all the time because it helps me to remove that fear of failure.
Right.
And then the other piece is, so there's a bit of
That's the
that's
crackle.
how it
That's
works.
like that's a light and sound.
Exactly. So the other exercise that I really will highly recommend everyone as part of the self-awareness is,
Hmm.
throughout the day, write down your fears that you've come across, your own fears. And you learn your fears through knowing your own body language. Because you learn your body, you feel it you feel it in different parts of your body. So
Yeah.
you need to be, first of all, in tune with your body. So throughout the day, when you feel something's disturbing you inside, stop
Hmm.
and ask
Hmm.
yourself, what is that? What does that mean? Because
Hmm.
that is relating mostly with fear. So
Yeah.
write down that moment, what caused you, and see what is it that caused you that situation. What
Yeah.
is it, the fear that you see? Is it fear? What is it? What's caused it?
Yeah.
And ask yourself, how have you made those decisions by living in the fear throughout the day? What is it that stopped you achieving?
Yeah.
Because once you start being in tune with your fear,
Yeah.
if
It's
you're
getting noisier.
it's
Yep.
very noisy, exactly. And once you start seeing your fears, then you got to go back and do an exercise and turn the question around. It's about changing the story of the fear and
Hmm.
start thinking about, what is the belief system behind your fear that's caused it. So the
Hmm.
more you exercise, again, you're creating a memory muscle about knowing and recognizing your fears. But embrace them. Don't fight them. You need to embrace them and accept them. And because otherwise, if you don't accept them, you keep fighting them. And as you said, you let your inner opponent take control of your mind instead of looking at it from the other way around, instead of quietening that sort of voice that's telling you about that fear. So it's about understanding the situations around you, but it's an ongoing exercise. You've got to keep doing this.
Thanks so much, Sophia, for that. And just so everybody knows, Sophia's referred to the book she has written. It is The Bedside Coaching. This is a I would say this is a very useful book that you can keep right on your bedside and maybe read it first thing in the morning or last thing at night. It's a simple self-help book which is not all theory. It actually has a number of exercises and coaching techniques that you can use to self-coach yourself. And it deals with awareness, it deals with fear, it deals with a number of things that actually helps us live with greater awareness, live with courage, and live more meaningful, fulfilling lives. So I think this is available on Amazon.
That's correct.
And please do, if anything in this conversation has resonated deeply with you, please do get yourself a copy, because I've read it. It's a great book. It's really a great book.
And if there's any questions, everyone's feel free to connect through Eureka if there's any questions that they may have, or anything that they want to point out to us, because we're learning as well from other people as well. So be open and ask any questions. Yeah, we're always here.
Absolutely. Sophia is available on LinkedIn. She's on Facebook. She's on Instagram as the Bedside Coach. So if you want to reach out to her, have a conversation, I can assure you she's super fun. And she will hold you accountable to be courageous. So feel free to connect with her. And I think we've come to we've kind of run out of time, or I could talk forever, but unfortunately, the crackers are kind of going berserk. So I think it's kind of time for us to wind up. Thank you so much, Sophia, for joining me today. I can see some viewers have logged in, but they've been very quiet. And I want to thank you very, very much for being here. I've just come to this point. I think last week I just came to the realization that I've done 12. I'm doing my 12th live, and that's 3 months. And I had that moment when I was like, wow, you did 3 months. How cool is that? And I just had that moment of such deep gratitude towards each and every one who's been a part of this journey so far. I want to thank you, because I wouldn't have kept going if it wasn't for everyone. That being said, please do remember I will be back next Friday with yet another topic, and we have Sunanda, who is an embodied arts facilitator, who's going to be talking about fear in our body and how it manifests, and that's a conversation. So do join us and enjoy your weekend. Enjoy today. Have a lovely, blessed Diwali.
Happy Diwali to everyone.